Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Ham Nation is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. And by ICOM. For more information, visit ICOMAmerica.com/hamnation.
This is Ham Nation, episode number 157 for July 23rd, 2014. One iota of a show. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Ham Nation. Bob Heil is not with us this week. He's still on the road, but we've got Gordo back in here from Costa Mesa. Gordo, where have you been for the past week?
Oh, you'll see, George, and all of our Ham Nation viewers been back at the ARRL's 100th celebration, and a grand time was had by all, as you'll see shortly. And this week, as you know, George, the Western Country Cousins Campout up on the Rio Vista Sacramento River area is going on, and we sure hope to hear them on the air. And speaking of old-time hams, if anybody knows an old-timer that let their general or the advanced or the extra expire, thanks to Larry at the W5YI, the info here is they can get back to that level if they can prove that they had a call sign back then that expired. Now, advanced will go to general level, but extras will get extra. However, all applicants coming back must take the Element 2 exam, and we've got just the book for that, and we welcome them back as new old ham radio operators. So if you have a license that expired or you know someone that did, there's an opportunity to come back into the ham service with a greater license you once had. How about that, George?
That's excellent news, Gordo, because, you know, I'm not sure what happened, but both of my Elmers let their licenses expire. And I have no idea why. I haven't talked to either one of them in years, but I noticed on QRZ that their licenses have expired. So hopefully they'll take advantage of this and get back in the hobby again, because they're both great guys. Well, we've got down to my south here just a couple of hours, and I don't know if you're hearing the thunderstorms down there, Don, but we're hearing them here.
No, I'm not, actually, and I haven't looked at any radar. We had some little weather come through New Orleans earlier today. In fact, the my iPhone screamed at me, you know, with the old EBS tone, but I think it's dry out here for now. Hey, we got an interesting letter. Can I read this letter? This
Yeah.
is you're gonna like this. This is from, let me put my glasses on here. This is from John Ricks III, KB0BCM. That's Bravo Charlie Mike. KB0 Bravo Charlie Mike says, I attended the 2014 Dayton Hamvention with my father, N0IAB, and two daughters, Elizabeth, age 10, and Anna, age 8. We met Gordon West to say hello, and thanks for producing the materials my wife and daughters have been using to study for their licenses. We attended the Ham Nation Forum, and you may remember this, guys. When the floor was open to questions, Anna asked how old a person had to be to become a ham radio operator. I piped up real quick and asked her how old she was. She said 8, and I said, that's the perfect age. I appreciated the encouraging responses from the panel that she was the perfect age to get her license. I'm proud to share with you that as of June 21st, 2014, our family now has 3 newly licensed technician class operators who are now studying for their general. My wife, Diane, is now KE0BDI. Elizabeth, our 10-year-old, is KE0BDK. And Anna, the 8-year-old who was at our Ham Nation Forum at Dayton, is now KE0 Bravo Delta Juliet. Thanks for the positive encouragement you provided to Anna towards her earning her amateur radio license. Anna was also encouraged to see that her question was referred to in Ham Nation episode 148, We Survived Dayton, so go back and look at that. My daughters had become more interested in earning their licenses as a way to honor the memory of their great-grandfather, W0 PKO, who became a silent key last year. As a father, I'm proud to see my kids wanting to continue the family tradition of earning their amateur radio licenses. John Ricks III, KB0BCM. So congratulations, Anna.
Right.
And family for getting the license and coming to see us at the Ham Nation Forum. And we're so glad that we could be a little tiny part of the beginning of your lifelong ham radio journey. So, George, I wanted to share that with you and Gordon and Val and everybody else who was at the Ham Nation Forums. Congratulations, Anna. Welcome to the family, darling. Back to you, George.
Yeah, congratulations, Anna. And I remember that moment, Don, and I remember your answer, too. She is a perfect age, and apparently so. And, boy, the whole family, 3 of them licensed there at once. That's great.
I got to hang out with 8-year-old Samuel, too, at you may remember from the Rain Ham Fest in Lafayette, Louisiana, back in March. I got to hang out with him last weekend. He and his dad Chad at the Slidell, Louisiana Ham Fest. It was good to hang out with Chad and Samuel as well. So add that. Another 8-year-old ham. Back to you, George.
Boy, that's great. Yeah, I wish some more of my family would get interested. I finally got my son licensed after I'd been a ham a little over 20 years. He finally got the bug, and he's having a good time with it now. We've also got Amanda's going to be up a little bit later, and we're going to have a little extended chat room there. But we've got Val with us as well this week. Hi, Val.
Hello, everybody. Hey, I'm also lucky to have both my kids have their license. My daughter and I, we actually got our ticket together. So she's KC9KIR, and my son just got his in March, KD9AOG. So I'm spreading the love. Back to you guys.
Yeah, congratulations to you, too. Boy, that's good news there. Well, Gordo, you've been gone for a week, and I know we got a lot of catching up to do there, so why don't we get started?
All right. Well, look at this. Solid gold. Well, no, it's not quite solid gold, but the glass certainly is real. This is from the American Radio Relay League's Big 100 celebration this past weekend in Hartford, Connecticut. It was quite a show. So, Brian, let's go ahead and roll the short shots. And Ham Radio Saves Lives, and that was the banner that we saw all over the place. And certainly for emergency comms, the ARRL now agrees. Look at this schedule, 3,000 attendees, 3 days of seminars and training. And the league did a fabulous job of having everything well placed. You knew where to go. And by the way, the ARRL tour, they had 4 days of touring the league headquarters as well as operating. You had 15 minutes, so talk quick, W100AW. And they had operators there at the league ready to go on the air. First day, the registration lines were wrapped halfway around this wonderful exhibit center, the convention center there in Hartford, and the league really had it together. There were some slight adjustments on how the line would go, but let me tell you, the ladies, the gentlemen, and all of the volunteers were certainly there to make you feel welcome, and they had like guides on every floor. Well, here's our setup, and inside we had over 100 exhibitors, and this is before they put down the carpets and did all the super draping, but it was a good one, and what you're seeing in blue is where the league had 20 of their own booths just to meet with all of the 3,000 exhibitees. Well, we went out to W1AW and got on the air, and thanks, Don, W6 Golf Papa Sierra. Don's the one that took these great shots, and the league really rolled out the headquarters red carpet, and it was a nice sunny day, and there we are looking at the league's headquarters in the background, and it was really good to see how the league greeted everyone. That's Carol Perry, WB2MGP, representing Radio Club of America, and they play a very important part in ham radio training. Oh, yeah, there's the lab, and the lab crew was checking out all sorts of radios, new radios as well, Pat's got one of the old ones. And this was a pretty neat thing. Not everything was confidential, but they did open up all of the league's labs to us. And look at all of the gear that they have. And over to the right, those are not really dummy loads, but those for testing out 110-volt AC voltage converters. Yeah, looks like dummy loads, but you know, a dummy load cold looks like a short, and the modern radios today don't transmit into a short. And there I am again looking over all that great equipment that I'd sure like to have in my own place. Wow, at league headquarters, they had quite a nice collection of antique keys and look at that old records for learning the code. Wow, I remember
Wow.
those days, and I hope you do too. And if you ever needed an old meter, they've got them in the ARRL museum. And here was the education department, and they had some really cool robots that were on display. And where's that QSL? Well, the league has got you covered. Their QSL bureau, as you can see, was standing tall. And when the big one hits, wow, there it is, the league's equipment. And thanks to all of the major manufacturers for supporting all of this equipment. It comes as a donation from manufacturers. So manufacturers, we salute you for getting that gear into the ARRL for quick deployment on the big disaster. And, oh, yeah, let's go back to a little bit of spark gap. You don't want to touch that when they light it off for once in a long while. Here we are on the inside of W1AW, and they had that station really humming. Well, no hum, but it was standing tall. Look at some of that neat gear. That looks like George's transmitter from a few weeks ago. And there's the porthole that you see a lot in one of the guest operators. You had 15 minutes to operate W100AW, and whether it was CW or voice or data, they were all prepared. And quite a nice station setup, and they had a control operator there just to keep all the antennas tuned in. There again is that spark gap transmitter. Don W6 GPS got some good close-ups of this. Look at this, some real history for the 100 days of the ARRL get-together. Now, on Friday, they also had Wufong, and we'll tell you about Wufong in a minute, but there again is a shot of the league's antennas and many of the towers and all of the coax runs, but it was quite a show when we jumped aboard the air-conditioned buses and had a chance to go out there and see the league's main station of operation. And they had tours running for all 4 days. And the league also signed an MOU with FEMA, and we were delighted to see that take place. And they had escalators that ran up and down, and everything was so well laid out by the league to make sure that nobody got lost. This is the beginning of the QSL wall on the first hour. And at the end of the show, you can see it was packed with QSLs from many countries. And I think every state in the union was able to show up. And then once the doors opened, the crowd was in there looking at the stuff. There's our W5YI booth. See it on the right-hand side. And we've got some instructor training coming up that we'll tell you about in just a moment. On that Friday night, after we finished here on the floor, and oh yeah, there was a great swap meet going on as well. HRO with their big store. There's Kevin Karamanos looking at us at PowerWorks. And they had quite a delegation from India as well as other countries. And Dayton Ham Mention was there with their booth, and a lot of foreign countries well represented, RSGB. It was neat to be there at the ARRL's get-together. Don wanted that meter, but I told him it was too big to take home. So $5, what a deal. Japan Amateur Radio League, they were there in force. So all of those attending the ARRL's 100th really had a great time, and the league really provide absolutely a Class A environment for meeting their own personnel. And, you know, the league had about 100 volunteers from around the country, section managers and so on. And these volunteers on their own dime came to support the ARRL. And that's Diamond. And by the way, Diamond was quite supportive for kids at the recent Plano Ham show. Western Union, anyone calling? The league again inviting those with even the Enigma machine to come on up and show off all of the neat things that were going on there. And it was fun to read everybody's badge and see where they were from. Don't sell my husband any more radio stuff. That's one that the lady was wearing, and that was pretty classic. And, of course, Drool, the big Kenwood TS990. Phil was there in style, and Don was there working with Phil with AvMap. The world's largest, make that the world's smallest key. And they were certainly there at the League's 100. So a lot of neat things going on at the ARRL get-together. And we just had a great time. This is Carol Perry's class for kids, and the kids were showing off an antenna in a bucket as well as the climbing robot. And that is sponsored by Radio Club of America. And thanks for the Radio Club of America for being there to help the kids really show off all the neat stuff. Remember the old tuna can specials for QRP? Well, there they are again at the ARRL's 100. From tuna cans to modern SDR, it was all there and it was all playing live. This is fun from Flex Radio. You've seen the ad. Well, they even had a little cutout, and you could put your mug in there and be part of their ad. There I am saying hi to everybody. So neat things and a lot of fun. And even 10,000 megahertz, walking around with 10 gigs. It was safe, not a lot of power, but making contacts on X-band. And, of course, kids, so important in ham radio. And in our instructor training program, there at the booth, we've got some upcoming instructor classes that we're going to be holding. These are free classes, and they're really aimed at getting adults as well as kids involved. And they had a tea hunt outside, and that tea hunt was pretty darn exciting. So let's see. The Wupong on Friday night was good. Chip Margelli, K7JA, did a fabulous job of introing the Wupong, and Riley was there, Riley Hollingsworth, and they had, seating for about 400, and I think they had about 300 in there, and it was good. I would have expected maybe the fog machine and maybe more lights and more music and audio and stuff, but nonetheless, we stayed for an hour and a half, and Wupong was great. Also at the big get-together with CQ Magazine, they came out with their July issue, and Yahoo! You saw it here first. We talked about emergency and the league's view of emergency and public service. Well, Rich Moses and W2BU came out with a 2-page blistering editorial. So when you get the July issue, read it. And he's quite factual on his facts. And he says that we got to leave the word emergency, and especially for those of us down on the deck. And a big thanks to Table 91. RNL was very close, and they made sure that we had the official Table 91 banquet ARRL glass. So it was great to see everybody. And we've rolled out our new instructor program, and it's going to be in Peoria, Illinois, September 19, 20, and 21. I'll meet you in Peoria. October, we're out here in the Bay Area, Pacificon. And in November, we're at KJI in Caldwell, New Jersey. And then that following week, working with Radio Club in America and ham radio clubs throughout all of Long Island and the local area. So to learn more, go to haminstructor.com and register, and then you'll see where I'm going to appear next, and you can take one of our free classes on helping the ham radio service grow by becoming a valued Elmer. So that's my report from Hartford, Connecticut. And again, I want to thank and congratulate those working with the American Radio Relay League for putting on absolutely the event of our lifetime, their 100th. George, back to you.
Gordo, I've heard so many good things about that event. I'm just sorry I couldn't be there this time, but I'm going to try to make the next one. But boy, what a great time it looks like y'all all had, and a lot of great exhibits there. I was kind of impressed to see the exhibit hall there too. Didn't look like Dayton, looked more like along the lines of something you'd see out in Vegas. So,
you're right about that, and that was a lot of comments about that. Didn't have the Dayton drip buckets or some of those things, but it was absolutely a fun, homey type of convention. The league really made what would have been a sterile convention hall quite warm with their presence and being so good to ham operators who came in around the world to see their 100th.
Yeah, I'm going to have to make it up there one year, even if it's not a special event, just to get in and work W1AW there a little bit. Well, we've got Val standing by here, and she's got some special things for us this week. Val, how you been doing?
A lot of contests going on the past couple of weeks. I was in the IARU contest and NAQP RIDI, which was last weekend. And a week from this weekend is the NAQP CW contest. But I'm definitely bummed I missed ARRL 100th anniversary too. I actually had a hotel reserved and had to cancel last minute, but hopefully I'll get out there. It is on my bucket list to operate from Whiskey 1 Alpha Whiskey, so that hopefully it'll happen down the road. But hey, let's get on with what I've got for tonight. You guys asked for it, you've got it. Facebook is now letting you put your call sign under your name on Facebook. And here's a little video on how to do that. Okay, what you're going to want to do is when you get your Facebook page up, you're going to want to go to the settings section here. Click on that and go into Edit Name. And you're going to see that there's a place there for an alternate name. That's where you're going to put your call sign. And then you're going to make sure that that box below is checked. Include this on my timeline. Type in your password, hit Save Changes, go back out to your home page, and voila, there's your call sign right there. Well, if you've watched the show a couple weeks ago when we did our field day episode, I kind of showed you the ins and the outs, the basics of N1MM. Well, another thing I want to show you now is what to do when a contest is over. A lot of these contests, you're not going to know until 6 months to up to a year down the road how well you placed in your state, in the U.S., or in the world even. So a way people like to see how well they did before the results are published is they post it on the 3830 reflector, which is 3830scores.com. So I'm going to show you how to post it on there, and so you can kind of keep track and see how well you did compared to everybody else. Of course, these are raw scores. These are these are before they've taken off for any errors, but it still gives you a good idea how well you did compared to everybody else. All right, now the contest is over. You have your N1MM up. You're going to go over into the Help section and hit Report Scores to 3830, and it'll bring you right to their website, providing you have internet capability. Most likely the contest you just entered is going to be right there on that main page. You won't have to go hunting it down. Now, I played in the North American QSO party for RIDI this last weekend, so I'm going to click that, put in my email address, and hit send a copy to myself, because this is what I'm going to use to repost it to my contesting reflector. Put the call sign, the class, the power, all the operators that participated, and if you worked from somebody else's station, you want to put that there. I worked from WB9Z's location in Illinois for about 4 hours, and my club is the Society of Midwest Contesters. Now, I did not participate in it as an individual teams under my contest group, but that's where you would put that if you did. Now, here is where if you're going to get your information to record on this submission form. So if you put up the stats right there, it's going to tell you all the different QSOs you made on each different band. On this contest, I only worked one band, so it's pretty easy. But if you worked more than one band, this is where you can design and pull up all the different stats that you want. You can grab all these different fields to be your column or your row. It's a pretty cool tool to look at. But since I only did the one band, if you look here, I have all my QSOs, my multipliers, and my score right there on my main log entry screen. So I'm just going to use those numbers and enter my number of QSOs, the number of multipliers I had, and complete those totals down at the bottom. If you don't do that, or if you add them up wrong, it will come back as an error. And put my score in, which was 6,400 and some change. And then below that is where you're going to want to put any comments, soapbox comments, things about propagation or antennas or issues you may have had. And then click Submit Score to the 3830 reflector. All right, you're going to want to go back to the 3830scores.com, and let's click on the North American QSO party, and let's see if my score is already up there. It should be up there. It's pretty fast. It usually gets up there immediately. And we can just see all these people have already posted to the reflector, which is a lot. And there I am, way down there. There's my scores I posted, and you can now see how you rank compared to everybody else. You can also at any point click on any one of those call signs and get more detail. So say we go up here to K9CT. He's really good about putting some, definitely some informative soapbox comments in there, and you can read all about his comments, and you can get full details on how he, what scores he got. You can also go up here to the top and put your call sign in there. Hit search, and it's going to show all the contests I've submitted to the 3830 reflector. Now I can use this as a gauge to see how I did in all the other WPX contests. So I can set goals for this next one. They're all right there on one page for me. It's very handy. And I just want to let you know, I know it's summer right now, but it's not too soon to mark your calendars for this September. We actually have some DX conventions coming up. The first one is W9DXCC, and that's going to be September 19th and 20th, and that's in Chicago or Schaumburg at the Hyatt Regency. September 19th is the DX University, and September 20th is the DX Convention. It's a lot of fun seminars and talks and presentations on DXpeditions, DXing, propagation, things like that. If you're just starting out in DXing, I highly recommend you go to one of these DX conventions that are throughout the country. Definitely a lot of fun too, a lot of socializing, hospitality suites and everything like that. So I'm definitely going to be at that one, and hopefully I can bump into you guys there. If you can't make that one, the following weekend is the W4DXCC, and that one is in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. I don't know if you've ever been to Pigeon Forge, but it's beautiful. As a matter of fact, because there's so much to do in Pigeon Forge, this convention, I see more XYLs and YLs at this convention than any other. Actually, probably more hams bring their wives to this than don't. So if you're looking for a good, fun thing to do for the weekend as a couple, go to Pigeon Forge. I plan to go again this year. I try and go every year, and that's always a good one. If you want to know more about these two DX conventions, if you go to my QRZ page, I do have their logos there. Just click on either logo, and it'll take you right to their page. Also coming up this weekend is the RSGB Iota contest. Now, for those of you who don't know what Iota is, that's Islands on the Air. We always talk about DXing, and that's always a challenge to try and get as many countries as you can. There's 340, and just to make honor roll is 331, which is very difficult. But imagine trying to do Iota. That's every island out in there in the world. I mean, I tried to count them all, and I gave up after 1,100. So that's a real challenge, but there's a big contest going on, and because of that, there's going to be some cool DX on the air that are Iota and DX. Vanuatu is one of those. That is about Rotuma. Okay, there you go. Vanuatu, if you go about 1,200 miles east of Australia, off the northern end, that's Vanuatu. There's going to be Jeff from New Zealand's going to be there as Yankee Juliet Zero Golf Alpha, and Dave from England's also going to be there as Yankee Juliet Zero Uniform Oscar, but they'll only be on the air this weekend. But I can't imagine going to that island and only being there for a couple of days. I'd want to stay for a month. And if you hop in your sailboat and sail another 700 miles to the east, which puts you about 400 miles north of Fiji, that'll put you on Rotuma. And Antoine's going to be there from July 25th through August 8th. He's going there for a work thing. He's doing a climate change project. But while he's there, he's going to get on the air when he can, nights and weekends, using the call 3 Delta 2 Alpha Golf. So go ahead and make sure you work all those guys and get on the air. And hopefully I'll see you on the air. See you in a couple weeks, or maybe I'll see you at one of these DX conventions. So now it's time to go see what kind of books Don's been listening to lately on Audible.
I've been listening to some awesome books on Audible, as a matter of fact. They just added a really, really cool book. I'll tell you about that here in just a sec. This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by Audible.com, the leading provider of audiobooks, more than 150,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature, including fiction, nonfiction, periodicals. And since you're a listener of Ham Nation, Audible will give you a free audiobook to give you a chance to try out the service. Now, one you might consider loading is one they just added, as a matter of fact, To Kill a Mockingbird. Yes, they just added this I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, brand new. And what's neat is you can look down there and you can see play audio sample. You can actually play a little audio sample. Can we hear a little bit of a Sissy Spacek? Let's click that.
And make their living from cotton. The place was self-sufficient, modest in comparison with the empires around it. The landing, nevertheless, produced everything.
It's just amazing listening to some of these actors and voice actors as well, reading some of these books. Now, the one that I just downloaded and I just started, I've been kind of on a Stephen King kick, Needful Things. Just started this one. And what's neat about this one is click the audio sample. The author reads this one. I've never had Stephen King read his own book, but this is really cool. And there's some music behind this too, I think. So
picked up the ball and ran with it. Betsy Vigue in particular. I think she likes the idea of dolling up in her slinkiest black dress and dealing blackjack or spinning a roulette wheel and saying, "Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Please place your bets."
There's just something about hearing Stephen King talking that Maine, dropping the ahs with the Maine accent. It's just very, very cool. So that's it. Check it out. audiblepodcast.com/HamNation. You can download this audiobook or any other of your choice for free. audiblepodcast.com/HamNation. And you get a new credit every month. And it's amazing. So check it out. audiblepodcast.com/HamNation. Audible, thank you so much for being a proud sponsor here of Ham Nation. George, let's fire up the soldering gun, shall we? And I'm going to get back to Stephen King while you're doing that.
Okay. Yeah, get back to Stephen King there, Don. Sounds like you got a lot of good listening ahead of you. Well, this week we've got a video from Randy. He and I got together, where was that? CPAC in Seaside, Oregon here a while back. And he mentioned those little $5 voltmeters that were on sale there. Well, he finally did something with his, so let's take a look at that.
So what are you looking for? I mean, you can't come to a ham fest without at least coveting something that they've got here.
Oh, found over the guy over here in the far, he had some little 12-volt voltmeters. They were little 3 segments, and the whole thing is behind the LED display for $5.
So I thought I would fill everybody in a little bit more about these meters. I also received my July CQ magazine, and in there, Gordo had a little article about these, so let's take a look at them. The meters are actually very small. They're about the size of a quarter, and on the back is 3 connections. So you have V in for your measurement pin, VCC to power the meter, and ground. Now you may connect V in and VCC together so you can power and measure from the same wire, and this will go up to 30 volts. If you break the connection between V in and VCC, you may power the meter separately and then be able to measure up to 200 volts DC.
So here's my meter, and I've soldered a couple wires onto the back. Okay, I've now turned on my power supply, and this is green, but it's really bright, so it's overpowering the camera. If I just pointed at my fingers here, you can see how much light is coming out of there. So I'm going to vary the power supply, and you can see it change here. So I can take it down. Okay, so it's a little below 4 volts. It starts to drop out. And I'm going to bring it back up to about 12. So now I have the meter and my fluke hooked together, and they're matching. And let's turn the voltage down, just pick a couple voltages. There it's off by 1 digit. Nope, there it changed, it's right on the edge. So the spec is plus minus 1% plus 2 digits, whatever that means. So I think if it's probably within the 10th digit there, it's probably pretty good. So it appears to be tracking pretty closely to my fluke. Okay, now the fluke meter is measuring current. So it's 12 milliamps on the fluke for 12.5 volts. As I vary the voltage around, let's say drop it down to 8 volts, you can see there, the current's about 10 milliamps. The draw on the meter is somewhere between 10 and let's say 13 milliamps. What I've decided to do is do another Altoids project. And so what I'm going to do is that I've cut a hole here in the back, and the meters, I'm going to mount the meter into the hole here, and I cut it out, drilled a hole, and used my nibbler tool. So that just pops in there. There's a couple screw holes, but I don't have any screws small enough to hold that. And I'm going to mount a switch over here on the side so I can turn it on and off. Okay, I have this switch, and I'm going to Just pass it through the hole. Hold that and put the nut on. I'm just going to leave the nut flush on the outside, and I have a little 5/16 wrench. Okay, I mounted the meter in my vise here. I'm going to take off the wire that I had installed on here. Tin the ends of my wires here, so I'm going to, and I bent the red one over at about a 90-degree angle here, so I can, oops, attach that to both of those pads. Cool. And it's on there, and the black wire, just stick that on. Okay, now I'm going to take the other end of the wires and connect them to the switch. I'm going to connect both the positive and the negative lead to the switch here. So, bent the ends over, and I placed it through there. I'll bend it down. Here we go. Okay, we have the black hook wire on. Now let's get the red through there. There we go, and bend it down. Now come in here and solder these. And there's the black. Okay, now on the other side of the switch is my longer red-black pair of wires. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to connect those to the top lugs on the switch. So I'll pass the and the black. Okay, so I have the wire soldered to the meter, 2 wires soldered to the switch. I'm just going to take the meter and stick it down through the hole here. The hole's kind of snug, so it'll probably hold it here. And the wire's fighting me a little bit. There it goes. It's in there, and I'm just going to push the wire down to the side. Now what I want to do is put a power pole on the other end of this wire. Okay, I have my power pole hoods and my pins. I'm going to try crimping these. So the way this works is that the tail goes all the way down. I'm going to start on the crimp here, and so it doesn't slide around. I'm going to put the red wire in there, and goes in with the tail, goes down into the die. Put the wire in there and start it. Make sure everything stays put. And the wire's in there. And give that a crimp. There we go. Much easier this time. And okay, now to put the wires in and to mate these up. These have, if you've never used these, they have little tongue and grooves to slide them together. And I can never remember what the saying is: right on, red down, right, back, rear. I have a commercial 4-way adapter here, so what I just double check is that, okay, it's going to go in that way, and the black will be this way. So, and I'm going to slide the two together. Look in the front, you can see the tab, part of the metal work in there, and you want these to slide in so that the round is facing up, away from that. So they go in, and if the wire was really stiff, you could just push them in until they snap. So push it in, click, and there's the black one. If I look in there, it'd be hard to see, but the round edge is up. For storage and travel, I can coil up the wire and store it inside the case here. I want it to jump out. So it's all self-contained. And then when I want to use it, I can just pop this open and pull it out. I've cut a notch in the end here. Not very sophisticated or a bunch of real good protection, but place to snake the cord out, plug it in, and hit the switch, and there we go. You can buy these meters from several places. In Gordo's article, he mentions Radio City. At the HamFest at Seaside, it was just for fun, was selling these, and I've seen them at Adafruit and probably other vendors. So 73, it's Randy, K7AGE.
That looked great, Randy. And I see you chose the peppermint flavored Altoids tin there for your meter. I usually go with the cinnamon myself, but either way you go, they're curiously strong. I got one of those meters too, but I haven't done anything with mine yet. Yeah, Don goes for the cinnamon too. It's a Southern thing. But I haven't done anything with mine yet. I've got to do something with it though. But I got a second one from that same place that Just for Fun at the HamFest there. This one has voltage and current, and one of them's red and one of them's green. It's really cool looking. Just got to figure out what I'm going to do with that. Well, you know, last week I asked a question, what is the approximate total length of a dipole antenna cut for 3.8 megahertz? And we got a winner on that. It's K5RLB, Richard Bailey. And he says a dipole cut for 3.8 megahertz would be about 123.16 feet. Congratulations, Richard. You're going to win this external speaker from DX Engineering. Great for adding to your mobile rig to get you that little bit of extra volume you need. For next week, we've got another prize here. This is coming from MFJ. It's the MFJ 850B line voltage monitor. It plugs right into a socket on your power strip, and you got a place that you don't waste your outlet there. You can plug something into it, but you get a voltage reading here, and these things are pretty convenient. I've got one in my rack over there. If you'd like to win that, then answer this. In the U.S. and Canada, the national standard for line voltage, the nominal voltage, is 120 volts. How much can that voltage vary and still meet the spec? If you think you know the answer to that, send me an email to hamnationcontest@gmail.com, and you could be next week's lucky winner. And right now, I think it's time for a little news. Don, what have you got besides a box of cigars and Altoids?
From Amateur Radio Newsline Report, number 1927, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, July 23, 2014. Hams in the Philippines were activated July 14th as Typhoon Ramazan threatened that nation and then headed towards the China coastline.
Typhoon Ramazan, known as Typhoon Glenda in the Philippines, departed that nation on Wednesday, July 16th, after causing at least 20 deaths while knocking out power to entire provinces, ripping off roofs from buildings, and forcing nearly 500,000 people to flee from its strong rain and winds. According to news reports, the number of citizens evacuated to emergency shelters reached more than 423,000. Before the typhoon made landfall, Philippine Amateur Radio Association President Thelma Pascua, DU1 IVT, had activated the group's ham radio emergency operation, or HERO network, with primary operations on 7.095 megahertz in the 40-meter band. According to reports, the HERO network and other emergency response agencies were working closely with one another to provide communications into isolated areas and to assess damage caused by the storm.
Bill Pasternak, WA6ITF. More on the typhoon and its aftermath in next week's Amateur Radio Newsline Report. The emergency communications provided by hams during and after a super typhoon that hit the Philippines will be among many presentations and displays at the Global Amateur Radio Emergency Communications Conference, or GARIC, slated for August 16th and 17th. Stephen Kinford, N8WB.
As part of the GARIC 2014 program, a detailed presentation will be given on the super typhoon Haiyan that struck the central part of the Philippines in November of 2013. Typhoon Haiyan, also known as Typhoon Yolanda, was one of the strongest tropical cyclones ever recorded and devastated portions of Southeast Asia, particularly the Philippines. Volunteer response to it involved over 100 radio amateurs in the Philippines-based Ham Emergency Radio Operation Network. Other presentations expected to be given are the work of radio amateurs following flooding in Brazil and the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan. Delegates will also get to see the work of Salvation Army Team Emergency Radio Network and the Military Auxiliary Radio System. Formal message handling, the National Traffic Service, and third-party traffic will likely be discussed.
Attendance at this year's Global Amateur Radio Emergency Communications Conference will also offer delegates the opportunity to attend the Huntsville HamFest, which this year is an ARRL Centennial event. It's being held the weekend of August 16th and 17th at Huntsville's Von Braun Center. For details on the Huntsville HamFest, take your web browser to hamfest.org.
That's Skeeter Nash, N5ASH. The 2014 World Radio Sport Team Championship is over, and the U.S. has brought home the gold. ARRL Executive Vice President Dave Sumner, K1ZZ, the event's chief referee, announced the winners.
This is a team that was in first place after the first hour and never looked back. Not only did they have the highest multiplier, they had the highest QSO total, 4,572. They had the highest QSO points. That means that their contacts were worth more per contact because they, oops, I'm always doing that, because they made contacts outside North America. But I know it's a tremendous pleasure for Doug, K1DJ, who's been on that pedestal himself, now to present the gold medals for WRTC 2014 to N6MJ and KL9A operators of Kilo 1 Alpha.
Taking home the silver, the Slovakian team of Rastislav Ronko, OM3BH, and Joseph Lang, OM3GI. They were on the air as W1L and logged 6,816,144 points. The bronze went to the German team of Manfred Wolf, DJ5MW, and Stefan von Baltz, DL1IAO. They scored a total of 6,421,383 points, operating as W1P. You can find video archives of the opening and closing ceremonies at WRTC2014.org. And finally this week, hams are getting some love from Facebook. Officially licensed amateur radio operators may now use their call sign as their alternate name or nickname on their individual Facebook profiles. Again, here's Skeeter Nash.
Richard Bobbitt, NW7OR, recently organized a petition drive on the social media site in the hope of achieving this goal. Jeff Furland, KB1PNB, who works at the Facebook headquarters in Menlo Park, California, found the petition on an amateur radio Facebook group to which he belongs. After doing a bit of research, Furland wrote the necessary code, then got it reviewed and approved. To add your call, go to Settings, then click on Edit Your Name. In the middle of the page, you will see the words Alternate Name. That's where you can add your call sign.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news brought to you each and every week for over 35 years and counting at www.arnewsline.org. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW 73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.
Some great D-Star radios have entered the market in the last year, but let's not forget all the solid analog radios out there. From radios strictly on 2 meters to dual banders with analog capability, ICOM has your complete analog solution. Check out ICOM's compact military rugged 2-meter IC23H mobile, 65 watts of stable output. Oversized tuning dial is easy to use. It's got 4.5 watts of loud audio, 207 memory channels, and multiple scan options. Consider the ICV8000 for your next mobile adventure on 2 meters, 75 watts of output power, a rugged die-cast aluminum chassis, and fast memory scanning with dynamic memory scan. ICOM's new ID5100A is a VHF-UHF dual-pan transceiver with built-in D-Star. It's got a large 5.5-inch touchscreen with software keypad and SD card slot, 50 watts of output on both VHF and UHF, integrated GPS receiver, simultaneous 2-receive capability, and an optional UT133 Bluetooth unit that supports hands-free communications and an Android app. Looking for rugged, easy-to-use handhelds with plenty of memory channels, loud audio, and long-lasting battery life? The ICV80 and the V80HD is a 2-meter handheld with 5.5 watts of high power. A built-in BTL amplifier helps deliver 750 milliwatts of loud audio, and the HD version includes radio, lithium-ion battery pack, and a rapid charger for up to 19 hours of operation. The ICT70A HD is a dual-band transceiver for classic operation on 2 meters and 70 centimeters. Like the V80 HD, this version includes the radio, lithium-ion battery pack, and the rapid charger for up to 19 hours of operation. It's easy to program with a simple keypad, large backlit alphanumeric display, and it has 700 milliwatts of loud and clear audio. Why not take a look today? Visit icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM's analog ham radio selection. And you can tune in and enter to win after each episode of Ham Nation. Go to icomamerica.com/hamnation and throw your name in the hat for some great prizes from the ICOM swag store. They've got T-shirts, hats, all kinds of things over there. So just go to icomamerica.com/HamNation and register after this episode and every episode of Ham Nation. You'll also be entered in the monthly grand prize, which is a radio. And for July, the grand prize is going to be the ICOM ID 51A, a full-featured dual-watch VHF UHF handheld with D-Star, integrated GPS, automatic repeater list-up, and a lot more. So go to icomamerica.com/HamNation after this episode and everyone, and enter your name. You could just be this month's lucky winner. That's a nice handy talkie. I want one of those myself. Are you listening, Ray?
Well, I hope he is. And, you know, George, I have this analog ICOM 70, and it's got the best audio. In fact, during the convention, that's how I stayed in touch with those that were helping out all around the convention floor. And a big thanks to Benjamin, KD8JBS, who was running the Windows 8 computer to keep my propagation seminar on track. Benjamin, great job. And DX Engineering, George, were feeding us on the floor because they had a secret cache of food. So what a team at the 100th. Back to you, George.
Yeah, and Gordo, I think that radio comes with a rapid charger, not a rabbit charger like has been rumored. So, yeah, I bet they told you to turn that thing down so that people could hear the PA system. I understand those are really loud. Yeah. Well, we got Amanda over here in the chat room, and she's been watching for your questions and comments, and let's bring her on in and see what's going on tonight.
Okay, so George, thank you, George. Yep, the chat room's been going crazy tonight, and Val's been really keeping up on the chat tonight. Thanks, Val, for all of your chatter on there. So I have lots of stuff to go over tonight. First of all, Miss Katie, 12 years old, KG5 DEB is her new call sign. Just got her tech license. So everybody say congrats to Katie out there. And
congrats, Katie.
All
hey,
right.
Katie.
I love it. And so I have a few other questions. First of all, who else misses Bob? I'm missing Bob. I wish you were here, Bob.
Yeah.
Daisy has a couple of questions, and Daisy's looking to get her license here real soon, you guys. So she wants to know, should she go for all 3 tests? And I'm going to send this to Don, by the way, because Don's a VE, so he will know this. She's been studying for her tech license. She's going to pass out with no problem. But she's been getting about 70% on her general and her extra. Should she just go for it? Do you guys allow that? Do you guys just give them the test to let them try it out? What do you think, Don?
No.
I probably should pay a little attention here. If she's getting 70 on the practice test, I would say hammer those practice tests a little more until she's getting 85 and 90 consistently. And there are a lot of really good websites to use those practice tests on. The one that I used and the one that I really, really like is Alpha Alpha 9 Papa Whiskey, AA9PW. That one, I don't know, it seems to fit my style, I guess. But there are a lot of them. If you just go on and Google practice tests, you'll find them all over. That's the one. I really like those, the AA9PW tests. So get in there, and when you're grooving that thing and you're getting 85 and 90 consistently, like 8 out of 10 times, then you're ready. If you're just getting 70 a lot of times, I don't think you're quite ready.
Okay, good to know that. Go ahead, Gordo.
And Daisy, Gordo here, I say go for technician and get on the air. You don't want to go tech to general to extra, because if you get on the air as an extra and you've never been on the air as a tech, you'll be a goofball. So don't be a goofball. Get your tech. Don't even think about general and get on the air, because there's plenty of excitement out there on tech.
Wait, being a goofball works for me.
Oh,
I'm being a goofball.
Yeah. You were meant for that. That's your role in life, Don. Sorry.
Everybody's got to have a job, right?
That's right. And you get paid for it. Now Daisy had one other question. So she's 16 and she needs to know, does she need a parent's approval and a signature or something to go out there and test for her tech license?
No, Gordo here. No, she does not. She just marches down there and with a form of ID, and she's ready to roll. Nope, federal license does not require a countersigner.
Okay, so better than getting your driver's license. Do you hear that, Daisy? Go for it.
Yeah,
you'll be our girl if you do that. All right. I just want to make one comment, and I've been reading a lot about a lot of people are getting cracked down on from the FCC for bad operating on HF. So I want to remind you guys, be good. Put out your call signs, operate correctly, and don't interfere with others. I just have to put that out there. So I do have a question for Mr. George. All right, let's see here. And I had it, and I have two different places for my questions here. Sorry, you guys. All right. KIJHS. He wants to know, can a UHF polyphaser lightning arrestor work on lower HF frequencies at 100 watts or larger power? I know you're not supposed to use HF on UHF. How about reverse? Does that make sense to you, George?
Yeah, and I don't know about those devices. The passband may not include HF, so I wouldn't try it. And probably if it's UHF, it's not going to, be a real high power unit either. But I would think, no, the bandpass wouldn't be suitable for UHF. But Gordo may have an opinion on that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, George. No, I would stick with what's designed by Polyphaser and the others, Alpha Delta, for HF, and leave UHF to the 70-centimeter coax.
Very good. So you got your answer there. All right. One more for you, George. Is it practical to use a Raspberry Pi to drive an Arduino to control a radio or an antenna?
Let's see, a Raspberry Pi controlling an Arduino. I'm not sure if you were going to do that, you'd even need the Arduino in there. You could probably do it directly from the Raspberry Pi. It's going to depend on the radio. What kind of communications it's got. If it's serial, yeah, you can probably do that for serial. And what else was he wanting to connect with that?
Or an antenna.
Or an antenna. Well, yeah, then you might, you'd have to build some external interfacing to take the load off the Arduino and let something else actually do the switching for, I assume he means a rotor or a antenna switch. But yeah, it's feasible.
Okay. Well, like everything is questionable. It might work, it might not work. It might not be the best way to do it, but it could be the way you do it. So thanks a lot for that, George. And I don't know who wants to pick up this question, but somebody asked, is it possible to monitor HF via Echolink because he does not have an HF rig yet? I'm guessing no, but there's also those remote bases that you could listen to. Well, Don, what do you think?
I'm thinking HF via Echolink. There probably is. You'd have to go through and go through all of the reflectors in there to see what's out there. I don't really know.
I think there might be or used to be a few HF gateways on Echolink. I'm not positive about that. I never used any of them, but normally no. It's not going to work that well on HF because there's squelch and HF are kind of don't go hand in hand necessarily, and you need that for Echolink.
KC9RIJ in the chat room says, yes, you can if you find the right node. So, and then someone else says, no, Echolink requires, well, yes, it requires a ticket. But if you're already a ham, then I think that's the question, is the ham is asking if it's possible. If the ham's already licensed, then that's a moot point. You would just have to go through all the nodes, I guess, once you get Echolink installed on your computer, and just go through and kind of pick around and see what's out there. Have a little fun with it.
Okay, and Ray Novak N9JA is telling us on chat to try Web SDR. So give that a shot too. I have a personal question for Gordo. This is funny because I was using an 857 this weekend, and they're telling me to and I don't know much about them. I just was using it because I was on a mountainside, given to me, go have fun on HF. Anyhow, long story short, they told me to tune up on using AM. So Jeff and I got into this conversation. Well, what is better, using CW or AM to tune up your HF rig? Gordo, any insight on is one better than the other?
I usually just tune up on the word "or," and I do the adjustment. But on HF, I would probably go to AM because I know it's not going to put out more than about 40 or 50 watts. Where if you did it on CW and you had the carrier all the way up, it's going to fly up to 100 watts, and that won't make folks on the band happy. So I would suggest tune up on the word 4 or tune up on AM, and you can use Don Wilbanks' call sign.
Yeah, feel free to do
kidding.
that.
I'm kidding.
I know my ICOM 7000. I've got the screwdriver antenna, the little Tar Heel, and when I press with a turbo tuner, when I press the tune button, it goes down to about 5 or 10 watts on FM. But now my Kenwood TS2000, it pulses. So I don't know if it's into a CW mode or what. All the radios are different, but as long as you're using low power, just enough power to where you can actually see and read the meters, I think you're going to be fine. But I know that the ICOM 7000 uses FM, and I'm not sure what this Kenwood uses, but I don't think it's FM. But it pulses. So
yeah,
they're all a little bit different.
Some rigs won't key up on CW if you hit the push to talk like this IC 7700 doesn't. Right. You'd have to put a CW key on there. So I just go to AM. You know, that works fine. FM would work too because, you know, there's really no difference, I don't believe, between the two there if you're just transmitting a carrier with no modulation. You know, anything to get a carrier out there, you'll see.
You can even go to the RTTY mode and key up.
Yeah.
Any of that. As long as you're throwing a carrier that you can sense on the meter, you're fine, I think. It's just low power. That's the key, low power.
Yeah. Low power and a carrier. So it really is just preference, I guess, at that point in time. But it sounds like a lot of you guys are more pro AM. And, of course, we tune into a dummy load. So I don't have to worry about interfering with anybody. But, you know, guys, I guess the key points here, low power, try AM, and keep it good, and use Don's call sign if you're going to do it wrong.
Did she just call me a dummy load?
I think so.
More.
Oh, you guys are funny. Let me see if I have any other questions here before I throw the show away here. Yeah. Okay, one more question. So this is actually Tim Foiler. He is not a ham yet, and I think this is an awesome question. He wants to know, can I tweet using ham radio? Well, no, not exactly, but hey, what other cool aspects of ham radio can we use to keep up with today's technology, such as email, you know, things like that? Anyone want to take that?
Well, actually, I think there might be a site out there, and I can't remember the name of it right now, that kind of ties tweeting and ham radio together. I don't know the particulars on it.
Are you kidding? My life is perfect now. I can tweet from my ham radio?
Yeah, or maybe you can tweet to your ham radio. I'm not sure which direction it goes, but yeah, I think there is one out there that does that. You know, I use Facebook a lot. We've got a Smoke and Solder group. We've also got a Amateur Logic group, and those are both very active, and there's a lot of activity going in there. Now, you know, that's a little more than a tweet, but it's a good community of people there. And there's a lot of communities like that on the internet with ham radio operators.
Yeah, I tweet about ham radio a lot, well, when I'm on Twitter, but Amateur Radio Newsline has a really active Facebook presence as well. We tried Twitter, and Twitter just never worked for us. It's hard to get your point across as far as news stories in 140 characters. So Amateur Radio Newsline uses Facebook a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And I use both. Actually, I follow Twitter more than I actually tweet. But I do love Twitter. But I think that would be really cool if I could put out tweets via ham radio on 20 meters or something like that. But not sure if I'm there yet. Gordo, anything to say? Oh, Gordo, you're not even on Twitter or Facebook, are you?
No, that's far too advanced for me. But I am on HF 7278.
Awesome.
And you can hear it in the background, so I hope to work everybody tonight, 7278, or a little higher or a little lower if the frequency is in use. Over.
Oh, right. Hey, you guys, it's been a great night and wonderful questions tonight. I really appreciated them. Listen, I don't know who's closing up this show tonight. I'll help out wherever I can. You take it, George.
Okay, I can close it out there, Amanda. Appreciate you being with us tonight, and some good questions from the audience there. We appreciate those. We like to know what's on your mind, and Amanda does a good job of bringing that to us, because we can't really watch the chat room that close and talk at the same time. Maybe Don can. He probably can, but
I'm horrible at that.
Well, any final words, Amanda, before we go?
I do. A couple more just little chat things here. QRZ is having a 21st anniversary contest. They're giving away a Kenwood grand prize, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. November 1st. Okay, that's a ways away, but November 1st QRZ contest. And that one is too long. Lee, I will get to that next week about emergency services versus public services. Gordo and I will talk about that before I mention it. All right, that's what I've got, you guys. Have a great night.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. Good to have you with us tonight. Gordo, you want to give us a wrap from the West Coast?
Roger on that, 72, 78, and thanks to our Ham Nation viewers, the many that we saw back at the league headquarters. We look forward to seeing you soon, maybe at my next appearance up in Peoria, Illinois. Is it right? Peoria, Illinois. Illinois, that's it. I think I got it. Back to you, George.
All right, thanks, Gordo. It's good to see you back with us again this week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And hopefully we'll have Bob back here. I think he's supposed to be back, and we can kind of catch up on what he's been up to. Well, Don, my friend down south there, any closing comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to, again, congratulate Anna, KE0BDJ, who was so nice to ask us what was the perfect age to get her ham radio ticket at the forum in Dayton, the Ham Nation forum in Dayton. Apparently, the answer is 8. 10-year-olds work as well as her sister, KE0BDK, Elizabeth, and, of course, Mom, KE0BDI, all getting their ham radio licenses. We love to hear about young hams and new hams. So if you're a young ham or a new ham or you know of one, let us know about it. In the meantime, I'm going to start trying to figure out something I can do with cigar boxes and Altoids. I have a feeling that once I finish this, I really, really need these. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Don. And you can probably come up with something for that cigar box. I'm not sure what it is since it's not shielded, but bound to be a use for it. Well, thanks, everyone, for joining us tonight. We had a great time, and we'll look forward to seeing you all again next week here. 7-3, and that's it. Oh, the nets. Gordo's already mentioned the 40-meter. The 20-meter, I'm not sure the frequency. I haven't seen the chat room, but it's around 14.268. Echo Link is a star dewdrop M star, node number 355800, and D star reflector 14 module C. 73.